Welcome to Nimble Minds Talks of Self and Spirituality, where we talk about different philosophical perspectives as well as spiritual practices. And I also add on my opinion and just yap about things that I find interesting. So, with this video, it's just going to be talking about why competing with myself is the best decision I have ever made, one of the best decisions I've ever made. And the reason competing with myself is, you know, a good decision is because one, it really allowed me to make improvements, whether minor, whether major, that would not have been possible if I was always worried about what someone else was doing, always trying to compete with somebody else. So, where does this even come from, first of all? Well, why compete with yourself? It seems like competition's healthy, right? Through competition, people improve. Through competition with other people, that's how people really get to see where they're at. That's how people can, make their own map and then continue, right? Well, not necessarily. All right. Up until a point, yes, but it does get to a point where competition it becomes unhealthy to a point. And uh, before I continue with why competing with myself is great, I do want to get into that as well, of why the competition can become unhealthy, especially when it's misguided. Okay, when you're younger, growing up, I'll say, most people compete, especially guys. Most people compete either sports, classroom, or academia, or maybe just hobbies that each person has it that they enjoy, like skating or something. That could be something, but it can become unhealthy because, in my opinion, there can be misguided competition. Okay, when it comes to sports, there's underlying things besides just winning, obviously, that you're trying to build, whether that's teamwork, or that's a sense of communication, whether that's planning, whether that's some type of team building. So there's other things, that go into that, but it can become misguided, especially with the goals that may be in mind when you're younger. Okay, obviously everybody's not going to the league. Okay, everybody's not going professional or pro or wherever that is. Okay, but at the end of the day, that can be a competition that becomes misguided because now you have people that are like, hey, this person's terrible, this person's trash, and this person's this. And hey, maybe that's possible, maybe that's true. But when it comes to the sports, usually the goal is not that. You're usually wanting to be the best team there is, okay? Maybe for the coach, yes, and some of the players, yes, but usually you're supposed to be getting some other things that you can take with you throughout your life and apply it, okay? It's not supposed to just be you're here and then that's it. There's nothing else to learn here. We're just trying to win, okay? That's where that can be the issue. Because now you have people misguided in their competition. Now you have people thinking that it's really only one can be, the best. And then you have people trying to sabotage other people and all kinds of stuff that goes on with that competition. And that's not just sports. It could be competition with women. That can be a misguided competition. Growing up, a lot of people think they have or feel a need to compete with somebody else in terms of either how many women they can get, when they get this type of women, and whatever the case may be. Okay, well, first of all, the first flaw with that is eventually people grow up, and most people do change, just based on life circumstances and based on things they may learn and different careers they're trying to go into. So they might still be like somewhat like the same person characteristically, but maybe their morals, okay, and their opinions and certain things are going to change about them. So all that off the bat is not a good competition, because then you have people competing and you may not even know it. They may be competing so hard. Next, these people are getting into relationships they don't even need to be in. They're getting into relationships they're not even ready for. Okay, and then they end up having children they're not ready for. Okay, and it doesn't just gotta have to be they have a child. It could be anything, but then they end up getting into these situations because it was deeply rooted in competition. It wasn't really them saying, hey, this is actually what I want to do. It was more so of them saying, hey, this is what I want to do because this gives me this type of validation. This is what I want to do because it gives me this type of look to these other people who don't even care about you, okay? So that's where that competition can be misguided. And that's why competing with yourself, okay? We're on that part back in. Competing with yourself is one of the better things you can do, okay? Because then you can start improving in things that matter and things that won't, just be about everybody else, and it'll actually be about improving you, yourself. And let's go back to that a competition when it comes to sports, for example. Me personally, I'm not like the biggest sports guy whatsoever, but if it came to a sport, right, I know since I compete with myself, the progression that I would be making would not be based off of, anybody else. It would be me. Okay, so let's say if it was, I wanted to play hockey or something. I don't know anything about hockey. I know absolutely nothing. But if I wanted to play hockey or something, okay, the first goal for me would probably be like, okay, well, I need to learn how to actually ice skate. Okay, otherwise this hockey stuff useless. What's good is trying to, hit a puck if I can't even move the puck. Okay, so I'd probably be trying to do that versus if I was competing with everybody else and maybe somebody else who had already been, playing hockey for years, I'd be thinking I need to be moving a lot faster than that is even possible, and then that is actually necessary for me to be competent enough to actually enjoy the sport of hockey. So it's things like that is why competing with yourself is important, okay? Take everybody else, what they're doing, who cares? It needs to be about the progress you're making, the progress that you're doing, okay? So another thing, let's get back into the women, okay? When it comes to women, temptations, lust, talk about all the time on this channel, okay? That's a big one. The temptations. Compete with yourself and say, you know what? I've been a person who's been out here just thirsting after all these women, okay? And if you're a guy, of course, you're gonna have that attraction towards women. It's natural, but you need to have some control over that. You need to have some understanding over that, so you're not just guided every time you see a woman. Oh my goodness! Every time you see a woman, oh my God! Every time you see a woman, look at her body. Oh my God! Every time you see a woman, look at her face. Every time you see a woman, look at her hands. Every time you see a woman, look at her hair. Every time you see a woman, do you smell her? Every time you see a woman, no. Okay, it needs to get to a point where you have some control over your faculties, all right? And your faculties do not have control over you, okay? So compete with yourself. Say, hey, I'm not going to be out here thirsting all the time, okay? I'm actually focused and trying to improve certain things in my life, whether that be physical, mental, financial, okay? Circumstantial, environmental, okay? So there's things you're going to have to focus on that don't involve women. There are things you're going to have to focus on that don't involve sports. There are things you're going to have to focus on that don't involve being worried about what the next person's doing. There's things that you're gonna have to focus on that involve you talking to the person in the mirror, okay, and letting them know, hey, I need to get rid of this belly fat, okay, if that's one of your goals, okay. But guess what? That goal doesn't involve women. That goal doesn't involve sports. That goal doesn't involve a lot of other things. This is gonna involve you competing with yourself. Okay, that's the point. It's gonna involve you competing with yourself, not always worried about what somebody else is doing. Okay, because a lot of times that can cause you to stunt progress. Always looking over, always trying to see what's this person doing, what's that person doing, because at the end of the day, they're them. People have their own lives. Okay, so you're gonna have to get to a point where you start figuring out what's important for you and what do you want to work on and what do you want to improve on, and you're gonna have to get after that. You're gonna have to start competing with yourself. Okay, and lust is a big one. Okay, relationships is a big one. Relationships derail a lot of people. Okay, that's why that's important. All right, but that is going to be the next video where I'm going to talk more about our relationships and lust. I don't want to go too much into that right now, but this video is simply why competing with yourself is important. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back over it. Competing with yourself is important because of what? It allows you to actually make minor and major changes in your life that you can see for yourself, that can put you in better environmental circumstances, that can put you in better physical circumstances, that can put you into better mental circumstances, that can put you in a better overall well-being, okay, versus if you're always competing with somebody else because you don't understand what other people have going on in their life. You don't understand the underlying motives that people have to do what they're actually doing, okay? You don't even know the people that are doing what they're doing actually want to be doing what they're doing, okay? So that's why it's important for you to be competing with yourself. Stop being worried about what everybody else has going on. Stop pocket watching, stop, ball watching, stop guy watching, stop woman watching, stop coochie watching, and stop, everybody else watching and start you watching, okay? Start mirror watching, okay? Start going like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do today. Okay, this is how we gonna improve. Okay, maybe you need to learn a little bit more about, whatever it is in your field or something. Learn about that. Okay, maybe you're in customer service. Maybe you got to understand how you got to talk to certain customers. Okay, so you can get them to spend more. Worry about that. Okay, maybe you work on cars and you got to understand a couple things more about cars so you can be a little bit better in your career. Worry about that. Okay, maybe you're a person who teaches other people. You're like a mentor or something. So you got to understand that you got to know things to say, and not just the things to say. You have to give valid points, valid talking points that not only you're just saying, but things that you actually have done and are doing. Okay. So worry about that. That's why competing with yourself is important. All right. So that's the video. Hope whoever's watching, whoever's listening, was able to take some from that and apply it to their life to result in a positive outcome and some positive changes. With that being said, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.